Hello and welcome to my channel. It's the Network Specialist. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. Everything I will discuss in this video is alleged and in my very own opinion, used for entertainment purposes only. Today I will be doing a recap of Married to Medicine, episode 11 season 11, episode 15, Duchess Toya and her royal court. And let me just go ahead and say some hellos. Hey, Mama Bees, my moderator, thank you so much for being here, and she can hear me. And she also said, congrats, Network Specialist, for surpassing 1,000 subbies. Thank you so much, Mama Bees. I really appreciate that. And she says, please speak on your way in by hitting the like button, engage, and share the live. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, guys, um, I will have to say this. Hey, Teresa William, thank you so much for being here. And I think this is my first time seeing you here. So please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. So, I have to start off by saying for this to be the last episode, the grand finale, it was definitely lackluster. It was very boring, and it was almost like a snooze fest. Okay, so this whole episode is centered around Toya's event. Okay, the Georgetown. So Toya meets with her event planners in her home to plan her Georgetown 16-year anniversary party. And I must say that Toya has some very amazing parties, okay? Her ideas are always over the top, and I love the way she plans her party. She had a very um detailed idea of how she wanted her party to go, and her event planners made everything come to life. So her entire vision came to life for this event, with the help of her event planners. So the episode starts off with, most of the cast members either practicing on the waltz so that they can have their dance moves, ready for the event, or just basically getting ready for the event. Okay. So then, everybody starts arriving to the event. Some of the cast members arrived on the horse and carriage. And out of all the ladies, I'm going to have to say that Toya looked amazing. Dr. Contessa looked amazing. The other ladies, not so much. I kind of agreed with Toya saying that Dr. Simone's dress looks like she was going to a quinceañera, I think they're called. I was not a fan of her dress at all. So, because of the friction that's going on between Quad and King and Sweet Tea and Dr. G, Sweet Tea and Dr. G was only allowed to come to the event for an hour during the first initial like reception, or um, where they have drinks, mingle, whatever, meet and mingle. So they were only allowed to be there for an hour. Now, I'm just going to say this. If I was invited to a party and if I could only be there for an hour, that was a lot to get dressed for this event. Being that, it was an event that was based off of the England era, that was a lot. So honestly, I don't think I would have taken her up on that invitation just to be there for an hour. I'm sorry. Now, I can understand if that was her obligation, being that she is a cast of the show. I totally get that. So I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Like they had to make an appearance. Hey, Sharon Gottbald, thank you so much for being here, sis. Cocktail hour. They were only allowed, thank you for that, Teresa. They were only allowed to be there for the cocktail hour. So then immediately after that, they had to leave. Now, before they left, Sweet Tea, hey, Sandra P, thank you so much for being here. Before she left, she did do this whole thing where she was called, I think it, let me see what was her name. Her name was Truella. So they passed out these little pamphlets or whatever, and she did a reading. And to me, that was just plain old. I just wasn't feeling that whole thing. I know she wanted to get her get back in, but honestly, sometimes I think like these people go through all of this trouble to plan these events, spend all of this money. There's a lot of prep and hard work that goes into these occasions. And I know they're filming, so I understand there has to be some level of shade that goes along, when they're producing these shows. But that was a little, I don't know who comes up with this stuff. I think they could have did a better job of putting all of that together. So I just wasn't there for that whole scene. And Mama B says, how old are they? They can't put aside their emotions to be in the same room with adults. Exactly. Like you stay on your side of the room, I'll stay on my side of the room, and I'm sure we can come together just to make this whole production work so that everybody gets treated fairly. And Sandra P says it was creative and funny, but fell flat. They don't like her. Yes, like that's like it took a little bit of work. Like all of that, when you were only going to be there for an hour, that just seemed like a little too much for me. Okay. So when it was time for Sweet Tea and Dr. G to have to leave, Toya asked them to leave to avoid, running into Quad and King. And of course, Dr. Simone, who thinks that she's the spokesperson, she jumped in to assist her in saying, well, I wouldn't really want to be here anyway, considering, what is going on in the group. So let me just say this, Toya did an amazing job with this whole entire event. The decor, the food spread, introducing the couples, the waltz. She did an amazing job, which she always does. And I actually love the speech that Dr. Eugene made, to Toya. That was really nice as well. Now, when the guys were talking to Dr. G before he left, what I heard was Dr. G saying that he was going to leave it up to the guys to handle the situation, and not exactly what they were saying that Dr. G said. Um, and I think I even heard Simone say that he was embarrassed and all of these things. No, he said, I'm going to let the guys handle it, but I never really heard him say that he wanted to do a sit down and have a conversation with King. So it seems like they were telling Dr. G one thing and they were saying another thing to King. And I understand that they want to get the group back together, but you know, at the same time, you have to respect people's opinions. If they don't want to be in the same room, then don't force them to be in the same room. Just, everybody can just move on. Hey, Ring Bass, thank you so much for being here. And she is speaking to everybody. And I'm just really kind of over Quad causing chaos in this group. I mean, ever since she's been on the show, she's gotten into it with so many different people. Like she gotten into it with Mariah, she got into it with Simone, she got into it just with everybody. Okay, Sweet Tea, Dr. G. I mean, it's just an ongoing thing. Like after they asked her to leave when they were on the Napa trip, you would think that she would come back and she would know how to behave, but not so much. Okay. So I'm kind of over it. And she's forcing this same group of people who ousted her to oust Sweet Tea. Like, make it make sense. Like, you're doing the same thing that they did to you to Sweet Tea. Hey, Linda Gamble, thank you so much for being here, beautiful. So, like I said, this show can go because it's just getting too messy for me. And like I say all the time, for this to be a group of doctors, like we hold them to a higher standard. And I just really feel like they're doing a little too much. And Sharon said Quad and King needs to go. And let me just say this, everybody can have their own opinion over here. Like, I love it when you guys give feedback, whether you agree with me or not. Like, when you guys give your feedback, it opens up my eyes to different perspectives. And we're not going to always agree. We can always agree to disagree. And again, I love everybody's perspective of what's going on this show. Now, I want to just share. Hey, Cece, thank you so much for being here. And Cece, my condolences to you. I will be keeping you and your family in my prayers. Guys, Kiki lost her father-in-law, so I just wanted to give you a special condolences and hope that you guys are doing well. And I want to share some things that's been going on this show out here in these YouTube streets. Like, I think that this whole entire cast is doing entirely too much. It's just like they know that the show is in the dumps. So they are just trying to say or do whatever it takes to keep this show going. Okay. So let me just share what first let me just move this comment. And I thought that Sandra P. Okay, so Sandra P said Quad was allowed to dictate who's accepted. Exactly. Like, that's so ridiculous. So let me just share something that some conversation. So somebody sent this message to Sweet Tea, and the person said, and another thing, Mimi nor her long chin husband are your friends. So this is what Sweet Tea said in response. She says, "We were never real friends. They were cast and we were asked to invite them onto the show because from what I understand, Dr. Mimi works in the same office as a psychiatrist as Dr. G." So she said that they were asked to invite them onto the show. There were even plans for me to film in her office, which I refused. I heard it through the grapevine that they wanted to have a storyline with me seeing Mimi and painting me to be crazy. Funny how some call themselves real friends, yet plan an entire season without even consulting you of what the plans are. I chose to go on my own route and film what was authentic to me, not anyone else's storyline. I think when I took a different approach, people didn't know how to handle it, so and I can't see that because of the banner. So let me hide the banner. So they grasp at anything to create a false narrative about me. So, Dr. Heavily has went on this whole campaign to make Sweet Tea out to look like she's violent, that she's always like, you know, um, approaching people, trying to fight them, and things like that. Now, from what we see of Sweet Tea, like she doesn't come off that way to us at all. Okay. This is just a narrative that they are trying to paint to get Sweet Tea off the show. And it's very sickening, to be honest, because they should have more respect for their colleagues than to want them to look crazy on this show. Like, is it that serious? And let me also share something else. So, we all know that Simone had, something to say about the fact that Phaedra was leaving and returning back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And she said that she was going back over there with the Mean Girls. So a lot of people didn't like that. Like, why are you? I have never seen this happen, especially on between these two shows, Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives of Atlanta, where they're going at each other. So I feel like they're doing this to be relevant. Okay. They're trying to go at the OGs on, the Real Housewives of Atlanta to make themselves relevant. And for some reason, I get the impression that Toya is trying to take on the persona of Portia. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in a minute. So let me just go ahead and read what Toya had to say and what the housewives had to say back to Toya. Okay, so Portia and Toya exchanged comments after Toya said that Real Housewives of Atlanta had a lot of Botox and fillers. Okay, when the ladies on their show, they've had a lot of work done as well. So I don't see how she can, say this about these ladies. So Portia said, to be honest, the girls from Real Housewives of Atlanta has always supported the other black shows on the network. And for me, definitely Married to Medicine. And to see her as a black woman talk about the features and pick apart Atlanta is really kind of sad. We may shade one another on our show, but we keep it in house. We haven't been out here tearing down someone else's. Let's do better. Let's all win. So Toya responded and said, "Girl, stop. You called another black woman ashy." Speaking of Kenya, not to mention you were a tad shady to our franchise under a at Phaedra's post. You and I both know how these interviews go. I definitely started a balanced view of the good and the bad. Don't jump on the bandwagon. Like, really, Toya? And so Britt Edie also chimed in and she said, "It's unfortunate the ladies from Married to Medicine look to tear our show down, but always want support from the Black community. Lead by example. It gives Mean Girls or Salty because Phaedra is gone off their show. I still wish them well, regardless of the hate." So then Toya finished up and said, "I am one of Nicki Minaj's biggest fans and have nothing but love for her and her beauty. It is not an insult to say these girls are trying to mimic her look with Botox and fillers." Like, girl, please. Like, Toya is really doing a lot right now. She did another interview calling Sweet Tea an idiot and saying that she's turned dark. Like, everything that you said is dark. And let me just get caught up on the comments. And Linda Gamble said, "It's alleged that Married to Medicine might be canceled, allegedly." I hope so. I heard that as well. The ratings are very, very low. So, I mean, I would not be sad to see them go. I just won't. And Sandra P said, "So disappointed in Dr. Mimi. I didn't see her actions initially." Exactly. And if you've been, watching my channel for a while, you guys know that I was so excited and I thought that I would really like Mimi on the show. Like, I thought she would be, like a Dr. Contessa to stand up to the Mean Girls, but she picked a side. So she decided to join the Mean Girls. Like, so everything that I thought about her, like, it's just not happening. So, she can go too. Because how many people does it take to go, to go after one person on the show? It makes no sense. At least make it equal. Have the mean girls and the sweet girls, whatever the case may be, but make it even. And Sharon Gottbalt says, "Linda Gamble, I hope it's true." And Mama B says, "At Linda Gamble, I heard it was going to be passed." And Sandra P says, "I'm okay if they do. Good riddance. I mean, it's getting boring. I mean, I thought that this last episode was going to go out with a bang to make us want to watch the next season, but it just didn't give that." And Cece said, "If royal ladies wanted to shade Married to Medicine, they could have for years with those bad wigs and fashions, but they never crossed that line. It can be on if the Married to Medicine ladies keep up. Married to Medicine don't have the reads." And that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I've never heard the ladies of Roa go after Married to Medicine. They're on the same network, so it really doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you fighting with the people on the same network? And Cece said, Toya needs to worry about getting second chair to Shamia, a new peach on Watch What Happens Live, the disrespect. Okay. Yes, she is trying to make herself so relevant. And Ringbad says Toya needs to look in the mirror and check herself. And you know what? Toya is always like, don't get me wrong, she has some amazing events. She spent all of this money on her lavish events. And when it comes to the group events, she's always crying broke. She doesn't want to donate. Like every time they have the Met Gala, Toya does not want to do her part. Like they were supposed to give 200, 2,500 apiece. She complained so much, and then she only gave $1,000. Dr. Jackie gave her back the $1,000. And then she gave all of the ladies back their money. And they was like, no, we want to participate. No, we want to do our part. But of course, Toya didn't give her money back. Like, I don't understand. You're a part of this show. You're a part of the cast. Like, when they have group events, you're supposed to do your part. Like, I don't understand how you can buy these Birkin bags and have these lavish events, but when it comes to the time to come together as a group, you don't want to pitch in. And then you had the nerve to ask the ladies to donate some money to your Georgetown event. Like, girl, make it make sense. And Sandra P said, exactly, the network specialist. Like, these people are really a joke. And she said, pause. Did I pause for a minute? Mama Bees, can you still hear me? And let me go ahead and move this. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. Yes, I can see that you can hear me. Okay, great. So, like, what would you guys really think about this episode? Like, okay, great. I'm just kind of really over this cast. Like, at this point, they're reaching for straws. Like, even the trailer that we seen from, the reunion with Dr. Simone coming at Quad. Like, girl, why didn't you do this before the reunion? Like, it's just like at the reunion, you guys are just like popping off to get a moment just so that you can come back for the next season. Like, it's just not matching up. Like, nothing makes sense on this show. And then the way that when it was Toya and Quad were having their conversation, and Toya was letting Quad know how she really feels and that she's kind of over it, where Quad basically wants them to pick sides, and Dr. Heavenly was just basically being Quad's cheerleader and agreeing with everything that Quad was saying. So I'm not sure why Dr. Heavenly chooses to just want to always take the side of Quad, you know, and go against the group. Like, I'm really not getting that. Oh, and she said it was for a moment. And Sharon says, I fell asleep. It was boring to me. Like, Sharon, oh my God, it was such a snooze fest. And I can get it. They wanted to do the whole scene, from the Elizabeth era. But even that was kind of boring. I'm sorry. you know. So this was supposed to have taken place in the Regency era in England. Now let's get back to Toya trying to take on the persona of Portia. So even though Toya planned this whole entire event and she's in love with the Bridgertons, she didn't know that that was a fictional show inspired by facts. So her husband had to point that out to her. So that's why I think she's trying to take on this dumb role, like when Portia made that statement about the Underground Railroad. Like, I'm not sure what she's doing here. If you feel like you came from this era, maybe you should have done some research to find out, about this event that you wanted to plan. And Cece said, I haven't watched Married to Medicine since they ousted Mariah. That was foul. And I can't deal with Elaine and Quad. I only watched a bit since Phaedra was added, but the show is dry. It can go. Exactly. And when it came to them ousting Quad when they were in Napa, I think the only reason why Dr. Heavenly went along with that because Quad is her girl. She says they're friends in real life, that's her girl. So I think the only reason why she went along with that is because she was jealous because when Phaedra first came on the show, she was jealous that, Phaedra and Quad were hanging out because remember they did that whole scene in the casket and, whatever the case may be. So Dr. Heavenly admitted out of her own mouth that she didn't understand why Quad was teaming up with Phaedra, even though Phaedra is a part, I mean, not that they hang together, but Quad is a part of that whole young girl Atlanta scene that these women are too old to actually fit in. Okay. So that's the scene that Quad is a part of. So it makes sense that she would try to be cool with Phaedra. But obviously, Elaine felt some kind of way about that. Hey, sound check Annette. Thank you so much for being here, sis. And she says she's in the office today, so she'll be listening from the background. So yes, guys, I'm just a little over this show. And I'm actually glad that this was the last episode. So now we just have to suffer through the reunion. Um, and see how all that plays out. I think it's going to be a three-part reunion, so we'll just have to suffer through that. And hopefully after that, they'll go on hiatus and we'll get a break from them. And maybe they should take a long extended break like the Real Housewives of Atlanta and really just take the time to see how this show needs to move forward because right now the way it's looking with the views, it does not need to be renewed. So maybe they need to recast this entire show. Maybe keep, I don't know, to be honest. I think the older ladies need to go. I think maybe they should keep Dr. Contessa, Sweet Tea, and Dr. G, Mimi and her husband, even though I'm not really feeling her right now, but maybe if she's around a younger group, maybe that will change. And just, maybe get some younger doctors to come on the show to give it a different energy and vibe. And Sandra P said, Dr. Simone jealous. During quad real parties, it's not the Golden Girls crew there. Exactly. And then Quad said maybe she's jealous because she didn't invite her on the show when was it Sister Circle? And she invited some of the other ladies. And Greenback says they need a cast change also. These women too old to be acting like this. Exactly. Imagine if that was your mom or grandma on the show. It's not a good look. And Sharon said, if they don't make any changes, I won't be watching next season. Exactly. Yeah, so there was just not a lot to talk about from this episode. It was all centered around Toya's event. And even though she did an amazing job with the event, it still brought the same energy. And I just really was not feeling Sweet Tea and Dr. G having to leave after only an hour. They were only invited to the cocktail hour. Like, make it make sense. So that was very hard to watch. And Sweet Tea is saying without saying that her and Dr. G might not be returning to the show. And honestly, she's trying to have a baby and she's doing in vitro. And from what I hear, like, you don't need to be around any stressful situations. And you already know that your husband is a lot older than you. So the clock is ticking for Sweet Tea to have a baby with her husband. So I really feel like that's more important. So I really do feel like she needs to take a break from the show so that she can focus on her new marriage and having a baby. And that's just my opinion. I mean, to stay somewhere where you're obviously not wanted, when you're in the process of trying to have a baby, it's at this point, it's not making sense. And she even said herself that they don't get paid that much money. So why are you still there? I mean, I get it. You're always going to be known for being on the show, so you can always utilize that to your advantage. But at this point, I really feel like it's time for Sweet Tea and Dr. G to go. Like, I'm not going to beg people to accept me into their group. I'm just not going to do that. Okay. So, guys, that's all I have for you today. So if you have not done so already, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. And if you just happen to be catching the replay, don't forget, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye for now.